Welcome back, Raiders. I've seen this discussion quite a bit recently as we approach the release of Arc Raiders, and that is a lot of people who like the atmosphere and like the game in general, but think that there's not a lot of content to do, and specifically they're concerned about the endgame. Shroud definitely ruffled some feathers by saying this.
I got to Endgame in like 2 days. According to rumors, to what some devs have said on other streams, that we're playing a small slice of the game and there's a lot more to come. Apparently there's 12 maps. I don't know. So if that's actually the case, that's going to be incredible. But if Arc Raiders launches the same way that it does now, I think it's still going to be good fun, for sure. But it's not going to be a game that you'll be able to play for thousands of hours, probably, right? If they were to release the game and it's the same exact content, no more. You know, I'll play 50 hours again, probably, and then I'll be good.
Now, I have some pretty strong opinions about this because I think Arc Raiders is actually in a really good position to provide ongoing content. But the thing is, we don't really have to guess about the endgame and ongoing future content for Arc Raiders because Virgil, the design director for Arc Raiders, said this about it during the TwitchCon dev interviews.
So I think internally, for a very long time, we referred to this as a 10-year game. So that is the ambition that we're aiming for, and that kind of dictates the type and quantity of content that we want to put into it. So we're not at this stage going to discuss exact roadmap details. That stuff can quickly spiral into promises that can go unfulfilled if things change. But of course, adding things over time like new maps and extending quest lines and introducing new enemies and new weapons and things like that. So
in the pipeline, is there something that your team really wanted to push for Endgame, or is there something that we should be expecting on launch?
I think you can see some of the elements today. So if you've played, you might have seen the things we call map conditions, which kind of really either minorly or majorly change up the gameplay in those. So I think that's one element that we're going to really lean into is you could take a familiar setting, a map you're already comfortable playing, and we really apply a big twist to how it plays out. So I think that's one thing that will become very important is ensuring that we intelligently reuse the content we have in a way that doesn't necessarily feel like we just reheated something or painted it blue. And certainly the end game play has to evolve with the game as we go. And you know, we even as early as a year ago began talking about what the next evolution was. So it's something that's on our radar for sure. So once the game's live, we see how players are engaging with the game loop we have, the game mode we have. I think it's only natural to look toward the future into how we evolve that experience, because I can't say for sure that the game will subsist forever on the format we have today. But I think if you've taken a moment in any one of these sessions and stood still and listened to the low soundtrack and the wind and the trees and looked on these environments, that this game can hold so much more than just the game mode we have today, however compelling it might be. And I think it'd almost be a waste of what we've built to keep it there.
I'm also going to talk about some of the other things they have spoken about in the Arc Raiders blogs. But before giving you my thoughts and predictions on Arc Raiders longevity and content and endgame, I do want to say a couple of things. The first thing is, not everyone's a streamer. Not everyone is doing 12-hour streams a day. I mean, I do 5-hour streams a day, and the rest of the time I make YouTube videos in. But very few people are putting in those hours. People who have regular jobs are not putting in 5 hours a day to play Arc Raiders. I think talking about endgame and blasting through content doesn't have so much weight when your job is to literally play video games all day, every day. And I do think with the amount of content that Arc Raiders can release with, which is 4 maps that we know of, and this one sort of secret map, which I'll talk about in a bit, it seems like there's enough content there to keep regular people going through it. That combined with its PvP, I think PvP adds longevity to games. You know, people play the same goddamn maps in PvP games for years. So the PvP and the difficultiness of the game will add longevity as well, especially because, I mean, a lot of people in my community, it's their first time playing extraction shooters as well. I think the cadence will be around 8 weeks. That's kind of the expectation Embark has set, because they're going to allow people to reset their characters every 8 weeks or so through the expeditions. expedition projects. I have a whole video about that if you want to see it. But you'll be able to reset your characters to get other cosmetics and to work through some things. And I think you could even argue people who are resetting at 8 weeks are probably enthusiasts of the game and are playing maybe more than the casual person. Right. That's first grievance number one. Second grievance, pet peeve of mine is this whole idea that you only play games when you have things to unlock and battle passes to complete. And like as soon as you've reached endgame and you've unlocked everything, you just stop playing the game. Like whatever happened to playing games for fun? I can tell you right now, I'm playing Battlefield 6 and I'm loving it. And I am not caring about unlocking everything, getting all the skins. Like it actually is a detriment to me and it makes the game less fun when I'm just focused on getting those rewards. I'm just playing Battlefield 6 because I enjoy it. And I think Arc Raiders I'm going to play because I enjoy it, and I will reach end game. I will max things out before other people because I can do it as a job, but I'm assuming I'm probably going to keep playing because the game is kind of fun. Now, with that out the way, with the unrealistic streamer opinions and forgetting that games should be fun to play, let's actually properly talk about longevity and the end game. I see a lot of similarities between Helldivers 2 and Arc Raiders, specifically around leveling and unlocking stuff and the battle pass system. In Helldivers 2, you had to extract. I mean, Helldivers 2 is kind of a PvE extraction game. You have to extract with materials to unlock your weapons, and you could also progress through the battle pass to get other weapons and cosmetics. Arc Raiders has the same battle pass system where you have to unlock page by page. I had about 228 hours in Helldivers 2. I felt like I not only unlocked everything, I unlocked things a lot earlier than 228 hours, but I kept playing up to 200 plus hours until I felt like I'd experienced everything the game had to offer, and then I put the game down. I haven't returned to the game, Helldivers 2, when they had their big updates and new enemy races, but a lot of people in my community did return and they did come back to it. And I think Arc Raiders will probably follow a similar cadence to Helldivers 2. I think they've got a good amount of content for launch. I think they'll roll out regular battle passes like Helldivers 2 did. That will keep people ticking along, going for cosmetics who really enjoy the game. I think there'll be smaller rollouts of content like new weapons and new gadgets here and there, maybe linked into the battle pass, similar to Helldivers 2. And then finally, I think eventually you'll get those big updates where you get a whole new enemy and a new map. I think the big difference for me between Helldivers 2 and Arc Raiders is the PvP component. That is the factor for me that makes it a little bit more fresh. It makes each raid feel a little bit different, and personally just gives it longevity for what I like to see in a game. Random player encounters create stories, it creates experiences, and I find it very fun. I mean, also I'm biased to this because I find it fun to stream. I think those funny interactions are great content to stream and make content from. Now, not everyone likes that. Not everyone wants to do PvP, and Arc Raiders is not going to be for everyone. But I do think the sandbox has enough in it to keep people entertained for a fair few hours. I think it's pretty reasonable to ask people who are critical of Arc Raiders what made Escape from Tarkov so successful for so many years. And I have seen a fair few criticisms from like Tarkov content creators about Arc Raiders and predicting it's not going to last that long. And I think Escape from Tarkov is coming up to 10 years now since the first alpha. And I played a lot of Tarkov back in the day. And my guess is this. Why did people play Tarkov for so long? This is my guess. First is the learning curve. There is a huge learning curve to Escape from Tarkov. Learning the maps, learning the loot, learning the weapons, learning the ammo. There's a massive knowledge curve to Escape from Tarkov. The second reason I think people played Tarkov for so long is the loot. The loot is incredibly complex. There are lots of items and there's lots to learn. There's a lot that is appealing for people who really like realism in weapons with like so many different attachments and the way you combine those different attachments. So it's very deep and complex when it comes to the loot. I think Tarkov also has that tension and atmosphere. It was the first game in a long time that really got my heart pounding, trying to like extract from a map. And that's partly to do with how difficult it is and how valuable some of the loot is when you find something really valuable. The game's been kicking your butt for so long and you just want to get out and have a win. And finally, I think people stuck around in Tarkov because they did eventually add more maps, they add more bosses, they had like boss room puzzles, they add weapons, they add attachments, and eventually they did add more modes. They added a strictly PvP arena mode, like Counter-Strike, and they also added a PvE mode. So if we now compare like how Tarkov survived for so long compared to Arc Raiders and what Arc Raiders could do, overall I do agree that I think people will master Arc Raiders a lot quicker than mastering Tarkov. I don't think it has that knowledge ceiling that will keep people playing for a lot longer because it's just difficult to learn everything. And I also think that Arc Raiders has simple loot in comparison, simple weapons, simple loot in comparison to Tarkov. But I do think Raiders is very comparable to Tarkov, if not better when it comes to the tension, the atmosphere. I definitely think it's better when it comes to the AI enemy design and how the AI interact with the player. I think it's a better PvE game overall. And I think that will keep people playing for a really decent amount of time, similar to Helldivers. I just played Helldivers because it was goddamn fun and you felt like a badass blowing up these giant creatures in the map. So I do think it has that going for it. But of course, eventually that, tension and atmosphere, just like in Helldivers 2, it will wear off. You'll get through the honeymoon phase and you will want to see new content, new maps, new weapons, new enemies, and hopefully new puzzles like the Queen and the Harvester. Now, in regards to Endgame and like ongoing content that's kind of already announced, they have hinted at a 5th map, which sounds like an Endgame map. They said this during one of their blogs. There are even rumors of a place called Stella Montis, but what that is and how to get there is still unknown. This very much sounds like an endgame map. It's very, very common in extraction games to have an endgame map that has jacked up AI, sometimes even different AI, and even better loot. So we do know there's 4 confirmed maps. They have nighttime variants, they have events that take place, and this mysterious other map is there too, which we don't know how to get to. So I'm imagining there will be some steps to get to this 5th map, and it's probably going to be more of an end game map to unlock. They also spoke about during the dev panel about different enemies and AI during nighttime events. Someone asked, like, are you going to have like nighttime variants? So when you go into the nighttime version of a map, will there be different AI? Something they said they have been talking about for a year or so, and at the moment it just looks like there is the high tier enemies during the nighttime maps, but not necessarily different AI or different enemies during nighttime maps, but they are looking into it, and it's something that's kind of on the list. They didn't really commit to it, but it is something they have considered. Someone also asked during the dev panel about cooperative like community events. Apparently during Tech Test 1, which I didn't play, there was this activity that required a little bit more cooperation between players during a raid to open like a bunker. If you played Tech Test 1, let me know if this is right, but it sounded like there was a little bit more PvE cooperation between players to get this thing happening, and Virgil said yes, expect to see more of that, so that's going to be cool to see. We have also not seen trials yet. This was announced in one of the blogs. It's like a weekly challenge, and it sounds like what it is, a leaderboard. I'm assuming it's like a global leaderboard or like a regional leaderboard, and it sounds like a way that you can compete with other people in the community to complete these challenges. We also saw in one of the blogs they talked about masteries. It was in the Tech Test 2, but was not in the Server Slam. And these were like little challenges you had to complete during the raid in a single shot, and it gave you like loot and rewards. It was how you got the grapple hook in the Tech Test 2. It was absent from Server Slam, but I actually went back and read some blogs, and apparently we're meant to be getting weekly masteries to complete as well. So I guess unless that plan has changed, we might see that returning as well on the full release of the game. Overall, I think Arc Raiders has an absolute fantastic foundation to build upon. I do get a little bit concerned when I hear about the 10-year plan, because I get Destiny flashbacks. I think about all the difficulties with running a live service game and the grind on developers to continue to put out content. And in Destiny's case, they had to release content all the time, and it ends up forming this like blueprint and this repetitive pattern. And in the end is why I left Destiny, because I didn't feel like it was engaging anymore, because I had to keep up this really, really difficult cycle to put out content. I hope that Embark take the time, they release good content when it's ready, similar to Helldivers 2 and even Warframe, and it cultivates a community that's okay with putting the game down, but they're happy to return when there's new content. Right, like and comment, be greatly appreciated. As usual, it's been a pleasure. This is Myelin Games. Peace. See you at release.